Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Michelle with Prettiest Problem. I have been thinking a lot about the new year and what kind of different things I wanted to do. So I wanted to start from the beginning and kind of walk you through some of the terminologies that's used on YouTube and in the beauty community. I would consider myself a beginner with makeup. I know how to put on makeup, how to apply makeup, but there's always so much more to learn. So I just want to share some of the things that I've learned and some of the terminologies that are used that you may be like confused about. So I'm going to do this look in this video, and hopefully it's not too long. If it is, I may break it up into two parts, but it's just some general terminology that's used, and you may either kind of have an idea of what people are talking about, or you just have no clue and kind of get lost and get frustrated. It is a lot to learn. Hopefully this helps. Don't forget to thumbs up this video if you like this type of video and you want more of these tutorial but explain more, and hopefully I can get this into one part. So I'm gonna get started. So the first thing that you need to know about makeup application is moisturizing your face. A lot of people complain of having like oily skin, and they may think that you don't need moisturizer, but everyone needs moisturizer, because if you don't have moisturizer, your face will produce more oils, which will then make you more oily. Always start with a moisturizer regardless to whether you're dry skin or oily skin. Now if you have dry skin, you probably want to look for something that says for dry skin, but if you have oily skin, then you want to look for something that says oily skin. The next thing is primer. So primer is something that helps your makeup to stick. So if you put makeup on your plain face, chances are it's not going to show up as well. So they have tons of different types of primers. You can get them for oily skin, you can get them for if you have a lot of pores, which I tend to have a lot of pores in my T-zone. So sometimes I have a primer for my T-zone and then a primer for the rest of my face. There's a primer for your skin, and there's also a primer for like shadow. One type of shadow primer is by Urban Decay called Primer Potion, and it kind of works the same way like a base does from my knowledge. First thing I do is do my brows. You can do your face in any kind of order you want. I personally like to do my brows first because that frames your face. So after I shape my brows, I like to put a base or a primer on my eyelid. So what I used today was a concealer. And you can use a concealer as a base. They make specific bases as a base, or you can use the primer like I showed you before. And this is just to help your shadows to stick. And also if you have any discoloration in your eyelids, it really helps to just mute out all of those colors. It gives you like a blank canvas to work with instead of having some discoloration in your eyelid. From there, I'm going to start with my transition color. So a transition color, you hear that thrown around a lot. Basically, this is a color that's going to take your eye look from skin tone, and it's going to give you some type of color to work with in order to create a gradient to work in new colors. And you're going to hear the word depth thrown around a lot, and so that is going to be the starting point for creating depth in your eye look. So the next thing that I used was a crease color. And so your crease color, basically, if you don't have deep set eyes, I'll put in a picture here of what deep set eyes look like. For some reason, I'm not sure, but deep set eyes are, I guess, more appealing or more attractive, or just look better in general. So a lot of the times when people are trying to create depth in their eye, they're trying to get that deep set look. And typically you'll use a crease color to create that deeper look. I happen to have hooded eyes, which is a whole nother thing in and of itself, but I like to create the depth as well. So I use the crease color, and it's a little bit deeper than the transition color. So I will put it right beneath that transition color. So the crease color is going to create that deep set look in your eyes. Now the next thing that you want to do if you're going to do a lid color is you want to have a base for your lid color. And this is not necessary because you already used the concealer as a base. However, if you want to use color, then I would suggest getting a cream base in that color. So I use the NYX Jumbo Pencil, and NYX makes jumbo pencils in all different colors. That's a really good base to use, but what you want to do is just apply the base before you apply your shadow. So I just took that NYX pencil and put it where I wanted to put that color, and it's a golden color, so I just put it right between my inner corner and that crease color that I put down. And then you want to blend it out because you don't want any harsh lines. Harsh lines is another one that's thrown around a lot. So harsh lines basically is if you see a line. It can be any type of line. It can be with your foundation, your contour, your highlight, but this is something that you really want to work on your technique on getting rid of these lines, because that is going to separate amateur from you look like you know what you're doing. So if you see any type of lines, you're going to have to work on blending those lines, and sometimes blending takes forever. So I just blended out that base color line, and then I went ahead and put the golden color on top of it, the shadow. Now if you're having any type of shimmer shadows, it's good to wet your brush a little bit, and you can wet your brush with water, or I like to use Fix Plus, but you want to wet your brush first and then dip it into the shadow and apply the shadow. Once I applied that shadow, I needed to blend out again because I don't want any lines. So you take a blending brush, and your blending brushes are going to be a lot fluffier than something that you were going to place color down with. So the blending brush should have some type of dome type shape, and it's not going to be flat at all. It's going to be wide and rounded. So I just took that and blended out that golden color on the top until I felt like I didn't see any harsh lines. Now if you were doing a cut crease eye look, a cut crease would need a sharp line, and I will show you a picture of what a cut crease looks like here. So with your base, if you wanted to do a cut crease, then you would exaggerate that line, and then when you put your shadow on top of it, you would lay it right on top so that you have that line there. But cut creases are really technical, and they take a little bit of work. It's a lot easier to blend out your shadows than to make a line on purpose. So I will probably do a cut crease tutorial sometime later on in the year. So now the next thing that you want to do is create a little bit more definition in your eye, and you're going to do this by placing a darker shadow on your outer V. Now the outer V is the portion all the way on the outside corner of your eye, and it comes from the bottom part of your lid just right into that crease color. You want to place very little amount of product on the outer V, and then you blend that out as well because you don't want that line, and that is going to really step that eye look up another notch. It's creating dimension. So now the next thing I'm going to do with my eye look is to line my eyes, and I chose to do a wing liner. I didn't record this part, but I may do a tutorial coming up soon on how to do wing liners. Wing liners are one of the hardest things to master in your look because it takes a lot of time and patience, and you try to make them even. It's just, I'll make a whole nother tutorial on that. So tight line. Tight line is another phrase that's commonly thrown around in the makeup industry. And at first I didn't know what the hell was tight line, but of course watching tutorials you realize tight lining is taking a black pencil, and this is done most of the time on smoky eye looks. So you take your black pencil, and it could be a cold pencil, and it's kind of tricky to do, so it takes a little bit of practice, but basically you lift your eye up, and then you want to line the inner rim of the top of your line. Now if you have sensitive eyes or eyes that water a lot, I would not suggest doing this because it takes a while. You could poke yourself in the eye, like it takes practice. What I suggest is looking down, like having your mirror down, lifting your head up, lifting your eye enough to where it's lifted from your the colored part of your eye, and then lining your eye with that pencil. Like I said, it takes some time to get down, and it's not an easy thing to do. So it's not necessary, but it does amp up your smoky eye look. It's not something that you would really notice, but if you're a makeup person, you would notice the difference between somebody tight lining and someone not. After that, I think I put on my lashes, which I probably will have another tutorial on how to apply falsies. You don't need to apply falsies, but falsies is another one of them things that separate the boys from the men, okay? The girls from the women. They're just really glamorize your look. After your eyes are done, typically I like to highlight first because my primer is already on, so I will then go ahead and highlight.